Hello to the curious and the thoughtful. It's Ellie again. Nice to see you. So are you guilty of this? Because I think we've all been guilty of it from time to time. But have you ever said yes when you actually mean no? Especially when you're being asked to do somebody a favor? Do you find yourself pleasing other people kind of by default, sometimes even when it drains you and leaves you exhausted? Today, I'm going to show you how to break that exhausting cycle in really easy ways that you can repeat and use whenever you want. Let's get started. So people pleasing often comes from one of three things. It's either fear of rejection, or it's a desire for harmony around us, or it might even just be a habit that has developed over time because we've done it again and again. But it comes at a cost. It causes resentment, but it also causes exhaustion and physical and emotional pain as well. It also can lead to a loss of authenticity where we start forgetting what we really are and who we really are. And we start presenting this persona that we think will please other people. As people who've been watching me for longer than a minute know, Ellie loves her boundaries. When you build a boundary around you, you're not building a wall. What you're doing is you're providing clarity as to who you are by defining what you will and won't accept into your life and into your environment. You also get to learn who you are, and you get to live within your value set as well, which means that you're protected, but you're also taking care of your own spirit as well. So you can feel good about yourself. The other people around you also get to understand your values as well. So what happens is when you have boundaries, the people that you're dealing with, they get to understand the real you, what it is that really makes you happy, what you really enjoy, what you really don't like, and what you really stand for in life. And when people get to know the real you, that's when genuine respect is built. Because instead of cycling around in this kind of cycle of fear and resentment and guilt, which often is what's happening with two people when people pleasing is at play, you'll have the people pleaser, for example, who feels guilty about not doing what they think is going to make someone happy. Or they might have a fear of rejection, but then once the action starts to get exhausting, it builds a resentment. Well, the person on the receiving end of a relationship with someone who is people pleasing also goes through the same cycle. They might have this sense of guilt that simmers under the surface about having someone else always be there to please them. But they also sense the resentment that is coming from this people pleaser as well, because, everything we think we're hiding from people, we're really not. Even if they're not able to consciously see it for what it is, there'll be a kind of an unrest in their unconscious mind about how it just doesn't seem to be authentic. And then they begin to resent that lack of authenticity. But also when they feel the resentment coming from the people pleaser, it may activate fear. Those three emotions of fear and resentment and guilt just go around and around for both people when we're not being authentic, when we're trying to please others in a way that is exhausting for us. It goes around and around and around, and it affects everybody. However subtle or profound, it still does. So there are three basic scripts that you can use right now that are value-based, they're easy to understand, and to remember, and they set very firm boundaries that will help to demonstrate your values as a person in really easy ways. Script number one is the gentle no. And that goes something like, I'd love to help, but I just can't right now. Or I don't have capacity right now. Or something. I don't have bandwidth right now. Whatever kind of terminology you like to use. You could use health commitments or other kind of personal commitments. Personally, I don't get specific. So if somebody wants me to do something and I don't want to do it or feel that I can't fit it into my day or whatever, I just say, I'd love to help, but I'm unable to help you right now. And that's it. Because being very specific and over complicating it with explanation just gives people more things to kind of negotiate on. And your reasons are your own. You don't really have to explain why. Script number two is a redirect towards what you can handle. Let me give you some examples. So if you are a grandparent, let's just say, or a neighbour, and someone says, could you babysit all afternoon, or could you babysit in the afternoon for me because I need to go out? Well, that's very non-specific because the afternoon is quite a number of hours, and it could start at 12 and finish at 8 at night for all you know. And so it's not very specific. If you want to maintain your boundaries, what you could do in this redirect scenario is you could say, I can't do all afternoon, but I could sit for an hour if you like. Now that is really specific. So what that's doing is it's creating a boundary. Let me give you another example. So someone says, you're part of a club or something, and someone says, oh, can you volunteer for this weekly thing, this weekly requirement? Well, your people-pleasing side might say yes, because you're afraid of rejecting that entire idea. But volunteering for something weekly could end up becoming really exhausting. So instead of saying an automatic yes, what you could do is you could say, no, I can't, but I am available for the next big event. What that is it shows that you're still willing to support, but you're not going to overextend yourself with this weekly commitment that is going to tire you out and just be too much to handle. So that's like another way to implement this redirect. Another way to implement a redirect is, let's just say you've got friends that are going out and they really want you to come with them, but you don't want to for whatever reason, or you just can't. And they say, we're all going, right? All of us. So come with us. The way that it's being said is it makes you feel like you're an exclusion, like you're stepping out of the group. And that applies a lot of pressure. If everyone is going except you, then you are the exception. You're not the true friend. At least that's the way it kind of feels. And so you may feel under pressure to just go ahead and go out, even though you may not be able to afford it, or you haven't got time, or whatever reason, or you just don't want to. So instead of saying no and just leaving it at that, and instead of people pleasing by going to an event that you don't want to or can't really afford to go to, you could just say, well, no, I can't tonight, but why don't we grab coffee on the weekend? Or something like that. Because then what you're doing is you're not making it look like you're an outsider. You're saying, I'm still in the group, and here's the proof, because I've just counter-invited you to something that is warm and welcoming, but much more manageable for me. That's the way boundaries work. It's not about shutting stuff down. It's about kind of creating a scenario that you can handle and then committing to that. That's the redirect. The third kind of script is where you just hit the pause button. So regardless of what the request is, you can just come back and say, let me get back to you on that one. What it does when you hit the pause button is it just buys you time. And that time gives you an opportunity to decide what's right for you. And it means you get out of the pressure. So you can just say, oh, let me get back to you on that, and then go away and make your mind up. But it also shows the other person that you aren't going to jump to attention just because you've been, they've said something. It sets a brand new expectation of who you are as a person. We're often being trained to please other people. And this can happen in families, in workplaces, or even in relationships. When we set boundaries, we're not being selfish. What we're doing is we're protecting our energy so that when we do give of ourselves to other people, we're doing it authentically. We can only do that if we have energy in reserve. And so by setting a boundary, it means we have more for us to be able to give of ourselves when we really genuinely feel it. So think about a situation in your life where you find it really hard to say no. Out of the 3 different scripts that I've given you, whether it's the gentle no, or the redirect to something more manageable, or even just the simple pause, which of these 3 scripts do you think would help you the most with your difficult situation? Let me know in the comments. And remember that setting boundaries provides clarity so that other people get to know you as you really are. If this episode resonated with you, there are plenty more in this playlist that are just waiting to be watched. Welcome to the new world. This is Ellie Dreams and Under. I love knowing you're here, and I'll see you in my dreams.